Mats Wielander's aching body apparently felt better than another former champion's aching knee. In 25 years of U.S. Open tennis, Yvonne Lendl had been to the finals at almost a third of them. 8 years from 1982 to 89. 3 times a champion at 85, 86, and 87. But Lendl had to wait until 1992 to finally win over the fans at Flushing Meadows with a 100% effort against none other than perennial rival Jimmy Connors. This year, though, his 33-year-old body betrayed him. Lendl had to default before completing a match. Courier, Graf, Sampras. The new lions and lionesses were baring their claws, spitting out pretenders to the throne that was rightfully theirs. The top seeds on both sides of the draw established their power, dropping but 1 set between them in the first 3 rounds. And the upset wave continued. The French Open champion fell. Then the 11th seed was ousted by a sparkling Spaniard named Carlos Costa. Goran Ivanisevic was gone, and a new shining star enjoyed his moment in the sun at this silver celebration. Of all the seeds to fall that first week, none fell harder than the 2-time defending champion Stefan Edberg.
It's always a little bit of pressure when you come back when you won the year before, but I was sort of looking at it the way that we're back here again, and got good memories from last year, and I was sort of looking forward to come and play here. Well, it's one of these days where, you know, Karo played a good match. He played very solid, and I was struggling a little bit today with the timing. He played good when he needed to. But I wasn't feeling bad at all coming in here. You know, I've been hitting the ball pretty well. It's like last point, I hit a great volley, but he just hits a flick lob and he went in. I lost.
Like Stefan Edberg, Karl Novacek now had fond memories of the U.S. Open. With all the dramatics in the men's draw, the women were hardly drawing much attention. They, for the most part, were holding true to form through the first 3 rounds. And unapologetic Steffi Graf was continuing her summer of success, breezing through the first 3 rounds without losing a set. For Steffi, it was business as usual. Total time through 3 rounds, a little more than a practice session, 1 hour, 42 minutes. Steffi was gearing up for her anticipated match with Mary Pierce. Pierce, whose personal life was now available for public consumption, was playing some of her best tennis. But the strain was evident. From the increased security, to the decreased by 1 support group, to the fans who had gathered and wondered whether Mary was hearing voices inside of her head, Mary Pierce, sometimes distracted, sometimes annoyed, also advanced. In this historic year of U.S. Open tennis, one of history's greatest players was still out there, gunning for glory. Let the record books show that 1993 marked the year that Martina Navratilova broke Chris Evert's record of 18 successive years seeded at the U.S. Open. Martina, seeded third and making her 21st appearance, was still displaying the skills that had etched her name 4 times before onto the Champions Trophy. The contender with charisma, Gabriela Sabatini, was having a bitter year. The 1990 U.S. Open Women's Singles Champion was in the midst of a personal drought of 22 consecutive tournaments without a title. She was hoping that a year's worth of snarls would transform into smiles with a good showing at a tournament she had won once before. Gabriela looked great as she glided through the first 3 rounds, and it was apparent that in New York, the Argentine was among friends.
It's a tournament that is very special to me, probably because I won.
All that stood between a quarterfinal rematch of 1990's finalists was a 17-year-old named Lindsay Davenport, who had beaten Sabatini in their only other encounter, only Lindsay's 6th as a professional. Davenport had upset the 15th seed Amanda Kurtzer, and with Jennifer Capriati eliminated, it was Lindsay Davenport who was keeping America's teen spirit alive and loving every minute of her newfound fame.
I've played well, and this is a great tournament. Everyone wants to do well here if you're American, and I love it. The crowd's for you, and it's great. I love New York.
Not everyone loved New York.
It's not comfortable enough.
For Andrei Medvedev, tennis in the Big Apple left a bad taste in his mouth.
Food is horrible.
Pasta. People eat a lot of pasta.
But Medvedev, pasting opponents, couldn't skip town just yet. For Boris Becker, it took 3 days to get to his first-round match and 2 days to complete it. For Jim Courier, it was potholes on the practice court. And as the spectators scurried about, spending too many dollars on duds and doodads,
find the people you came to see.
The players prepared for the 4th round. And one thing hadn't changed in 25 years. It's tough to be the toast of this town. Boris Becker opened the 4th round with memories of the 1st round not far behind. He had been on a whirlwind pace after surviving his 1st round 5-set scare against Andrei Cherkasov. His comeback from 2 sets to love had produced some of the tournament's most stirring action so far. Since then, in typical Becker style, he had banged his way through to the 4th round. And if all went well, Becker could cruise to the semis without facing a seed.